3, 2, 1, clap. You're about to listen to a podcast full of wonder, excitement, and discovery. It's time for an adventure through Odyssey. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Adventures Through Odyssey podcast, Odyssey Revisited. I'm Will.
I'm John.
And I'm Gabe.
And today we are going to be taking a look at Album 4, Fun Damentals. So we are going to get right into the thick of it. I've decided to take out memories of the album because no one really had anything to say about that. So, By Faith Noah, episode 56, written by Paul McCusker, aired January 7th, 1989. Wit tells Jack and Lucy the story of Noah's Ark.
Okay, I guess. Like, it was an okay episode. I feel like a little overly goofy, maybe a little bit.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, compared to Bethany's Flood, which is Noah with a very goofy tone, this is almost straightforward. But, you know, pre-Imagination Station, they're still trying to find their footing with let's insert these characters into Bible stories.
I think it was pretty good saying that it's album 4.
Yes. And it's better than the Connie David one. We seem to have exhausted our resources on that one. But Prodigal Jimmy, episode 57, written by Phil Lawler, aired January 14th in 1989. When Jimmy Barkley realizes he's spent all his savings on pizza and video games, he finds it difficult to confront his father. So, this is an episode I wish they would do more often, where it's a real-life reenactment of a parable. Absolutely.
I agree with that. It was it is one of those episodes with a short cast of characters, which is interesting to see.
Definitely. Yeah, you know, kind of a prototype Rodney in this episode. Because, well, it's just essentially the voice actor who sounds exactly like Rodney. And, of course, this is probably one of the most re-referenced episodes in the show. I just kind of feel like it does come up a few times after this.
I remember it coming up once in particular. I think it might even be in this album.
There is one time in this album, then one time when Jimmy is in Washington right before they leave on the airplane.
Oh, yeah.
I think there was one or two other times, but they're not jumping to mind at this exact moment. Alright, so moving on to A Matter of Obedience, episode 58, written by Paul McCusker, aired January 21st, 1989. Tom Riley tells a story about when he was young. In it, he and his sister are assigned to take some medicine to a woman across the woods. Well, there's a lot in this episode that would not fly today, I'll say that.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this episode, despite the fact that I don't know how it would take so long to get through the woods in one day. I mean, I get, like, things were further apart, but I mean, like, I feel like the dad gets there, like, near the end.
Yeah, maybe it was taking him a long way.
And, like, I know, like, the dad had stuff to do and the kids took a long way, but, like, that seems like a little too long. Also, like, putting kids in the basement, like, I know it was a different time, but it's a little...
Yeah, I don't know if people would do that today, or even back then.
Yeah, that's a little bit of a stretch, even for Odyssey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, this was when Tom's younger. Maybe he's remembering it wrong.
I don't think they would do that.
Yeah.
Maybe he went into the bathroom, the door's stuck, and he remembered it as the basement.
Even then, that's still...
Eh.
That would still be a little...
I'm pretty sure the woman would be get in a little bit of trouble for locking kids in a basement.
Well, that is a very fair point. Yeah, so a good episode, a few questionable laurels, and how did it take them so short to get through the woods?
Long.
Alright, moving on to A Worker Approved, episode 59, written by Phil Lawler and aired January 28th, 1989. Robin Jacobs tries to figure out how to study the Bible. Man, these summaries are so detailed.
I didn't really like this episode that much. I feel like it's a little, like... I don't know. There's just something about it where it's like, I get studying the Bible, but like, oh, you can find your way. How about singing? Which I know some people probably do learn it like that, but I feel like that's what it comes down to in a lot of like shows like that. Man, I don't know how to learn this. Oh wait, singing.
Am I just imagining this, or is there an Arthur episode about singing memorization?
There might have been. Yeah, the spelling bee, I guess. There might have been another one. He sings Aardvark.
I don't... Was there an explicit one? I don't remember.
There's too much Arthur. We're not getting on... This is not the Arthur podcast. This is the Adventures Odyssey podcast. Let's avoid this
Arthur
topic.
podcast coming soon.
No, it's not.
No, it's... Don't get your hopes up, everybody.
Yeah, don't get your hopes up.
Alright, moving on to the actual few points I had about this. One, when Robin tells her story in a school report, one, I give her credit because it was a public school. Two, she's only like 10 or 12 in this episode, and she became a Christian when she was super young and stopped using bad words. I had this vision of a 4-year-old swearing.
Yeah.
Thank you, Odyssey, for putting that image into my head.
But I also have this image of her saying, like, dang it, and getting grounded for like 2 weeks.
No, it's put on restriction. This is Odyssey.
Oh, there we go.
But this is also the first appearance of Oscar, I believe, who we'll get to later. But yeah, I feel like almost all episodes either end with the song, and this is sort of the same payoff to Robin studying for that test.
Yeah. Which is also
definitely
not a very great
episode. At least this one doesn't have a morally ambiguous ending.
Yeah, that's true. Where it's like, oh... Yeah, okay, let's not get into that now.
Right. There was something else. Oh, this is also the first appearance of Robin Jacobs. Forgot to mention that.
Oh, she came in with a bang.
Yes, and again, this is the first time we see some of the fallout from Connie becoming a Christian, how much it moves her. But that's not really the point of this, so moving on to And When You Pray, episode 60, written by Paul McCusker, aired February 4th, 1989. Jimmy prays to get a bicycle, and it happens. Donna is confused about the nature of prayer, and so Whit gives her an object lesson.
You know, I think this episode is pretty good, has some funny moments. I actually think the vending machine is a fairly good analogy for prayer for like younger viewers.
Yeah.
You know, saying it's not a vending machine.
Well,
right.
That is something I don't really cover on. Mostly it's just pray and God will listen.
Yeah.
Also, this is one of a few slice of life episodes that teaches a very specific Christian message that isn't either a Bible story parallel, an Imagination Station adventure, or a kids radio episode. So,
yeah, I actually think this is a top tier episode of the early albums.
Absolutely. So, okay, I guess we don't have much more to say except the gym scene's funny.
Definitely.
Yes. All right, moving on to an episode that's a little more controversial. The Boy Who Didn't Go to Church, episode 61, written by Phil Lawler and aired February 11th, 1989. A skit about...
Don't really know why this is controversial, but go on.
A skit about the role of all the members of the church body. So, maybe I'm just not a big fan of the episodes where the characters are putting on a play. It just seems a little weird.
I get why. I mean, they probably didn't want to actually have a kid, like, They probably didn't want to actually show the breaking down of a church.
Well,
I think because they knew that what the play was a tad bit unrealistic, and, like, it's not going to break down that much if one person doesn't come. So they didn't want to make it in real Odyssey.
Well, I understand that, although they do some weird things with offering later on, but we'll get to that. My one little problem is, it does kind of make the episode kind of makes it sound like if you don't go to church every single week, the church is going to die.
No, I honestly do not think that's what it's referring to, because when you look at it, it says that he was gone for a long time, and it's supposed to be the idea that, you know, if enough people think that way, it will break apart. I don't think it's saying that, oh, if one person leaves for 1 week, the church is going to come apart. No, it's saying that if a bunch of people from the same type of idea.
I mean, I agree, but that's not what they were trying to say. I think the way it's worded at the end, if you're like the target age range of this show and not 3 people hosting a podcast, you could take that away from the episode.
I didn't when I was a kid, but
They could
so I
have
don't
conveyed
think so.
it better.
Which says, I think, explicably, is that what's going to happen if I don't go to church? Like, the kid or says something like that, and Wit's like, well, no, but I mean...
Well, here's a quote from Wit. When people don't go to church, it can't do what it's supposed to do either. So...
Yeah, I mean,
I get that. It just... The way some things are phrased is a little weird. Let's not get hung up on this. I don't want this to turn into a fist fight.
But we're on Skype.
Yes, but I'm seeing John in a week, and it could turn into a fist fight then. Alright. Let This Mind Be in You, episode 62, written by Paul McCusker and aired February 18th, 1989. Well, Wit is gone for a few days. Connie tries to become just like him, but fails in various ways.
I think this goes back to, I feel like they treat Wit a little too, like he's too irreplaceable to the town of Odyssey.
Yeah.
They have a few too many episodes like that.
That is...
Where it's like, they can function without him, and people can function without
Wit. Yeah, they
Wit.
functioned for a whole year without him.
Right.
it was probably long. Wasn't it longer?
I checked. It's like a year or 18 months from the time he left till the time the new Wit showed up. In that, when they go to Israel thing. So...
Okay. That's when they came out with multiple albums in a year.
That's when they came out with more than 2, yes. They were basically on constant production at the time, so...
Yeah.
But, absolutely, this is kind of, we can't do anything without Wit, so... And, of course...
Let's try to replace him.
Yeah. And then Eugene can't paint the Bible room. I feel like that just should be a commercial in Odyssey. How many times has this happened to you? Your boss leaves, you can't paint the Bible room, and Jimmy gets confused about a Bible story. You need Wit!
Yeah, I'm like slightly torn on this episode. Like, I think in parts, I get what they're going for, but it wasn't really executed that well.
Absolutely. And didn't they try this again at a later point? No, way about...
Yeah, well, I think they did try to do something.
Yeah, they made the electronic Wit.
Oh, yeah. But that was funny because it was just so stupid.
Right.
Animatronic Wit. Anima what? Okay. So, decent idea of you can't really try to be God 100%, but maybe they should have done something just a little different. Or at least stop making it seem like Wit's the be-all, end-all of Odyssey.
Yeah, I agree.
Alright. The Good and Faithful Servant, episode 63, written by Phil Lawler, aired February 29th, 1989. The Barkley family tries a new budget. Because, they can't just call it an allowance. They have to call it a budget.
And the Barkleys seem to be always on vacation.
Yes. We get...
Yeah, like, I never really got it. Like, they're like, oh, we're on, like, all the money episodes involve the Barkleys. Like, we're on a budget. We're going on vacation. Oh no, we're kind of poor now because I lost my job and suddenly we're poor.
Maybe.
And like the whole thing that he couldn't get a job. I know that's like a thing that happens, but like
I think
like now I understand it. Like if it was now because like the recession and everything, I feel like one place that you're overqualified. In that one episode.
Yeah, which we'll get to
on.
when we get to. What were you saying, Gabe?
Yeah.
I think they could have at least spread the poverty between more families in the early on Odyssey. Because it seems like the Barkleys just get all the flack for everything.
I don't think the Barkleys were ever really in poverty, though. We didn't have an episode where they moved into a home. Although that would have been amusing. Not really, but...
They did get normal, though, from a shelter.
Yes, but almost everyone gets their dog from a shelter.
Except for me.
I'd say like 90% of dog owners get their dog from a shelter.
That's debatable.
Okay, it's debatable. Fine. Point being, you're not in poverty if you get your dog from a shelter.
Yeah, I was just joking.
But yeah, they could have done money episodes with maybe the Jacobs, and just so it doesn't look like the Barclays are always in financial straits.
Yeah, it's like, does Robin really make that much money writing for the school newspaper?
Does she make any money?
I don't know.
I don't think so.
They never... They always go on vacation when the Barclays don't.
Well, yeah. That's a fair point. And then, of course, it ends with Donna giving her money to charity, and everything's happy.
They should have just brought this into the tithing episode.
Yes, and have the church apocalypse be about that. Alright, we're getting off track here, so let's move on to the greatest of these, episode 64, written by Phil Lawler and aired March 4th, 1989. Robin Jacobs struggles with her struggling school partner, Oscar Peterson. I mean, it's a better someone finds out the kid has a disability episode because they address the fact that they just suddenly start being nice.
Yeah, I feel like this is a really good thing they point out that a lot of shows, when they bring up someone with a problem, is at the end where Whit's like, where Robin's like, oh, poor Oscar, and Whit's like, well, why didn't you feel bad? Like, why didn't you feel for him in the first?
Yeah, a much better look, even if it is kind of debatable that, even if Robin had known at the time, would she have just gotten caught up in the heat of the moment and still yelled?
And I kind of feel like you could tell, well, with me, you can tell if someone actually has a disability or they're just slacking off.
That is partially true, although...
Most of the time. I'm not going to say all the time.
Right, sometimes it's easy to tell, sometimes it isn't, I'll say that.
Right.
Alright, moving on to... Oh, Oscar, the character of dyslexia they never really talk about again, like a lot of the disabled characters in Odyssey.
Well, no, they talk about him occasionally.
Well, no, like, they don't bring up the dyslexia ever again.
I mean, not as a major plot point, but do you want a whole character's major idea to be that he has a problem?
Well, no, and dyslexia isn't a big problem, like something...
Well, I know.
It can be sometimes.
I'm not saying it's a huge problem, but you want a person's defining trait to be dyslexia. No, it's better to be like, you know he has this, but he's still a character. That's one problem where a lot of characters on, like, kid shows and other shows, they bring them on only to have them focus on that aspect of them.
Oh, absolutely. And, well, right, because then we have Zachary, who, his character is, he's in a wheelchair, and he's mad about being in a wheelchair. And he does model trains.
Let's touch on that later.
Alright, so, to pick up the pace, moving on to Bad Company, episode 65, written by Paul McCusker and aired March 11th, 1989. Despite her parents' concerns about hanging around with Rachel Woodworth, Donna tries to be her friend. Then the two of them are snagged for shoplifting, while Connie gets involved in a Bible study that doesn't agree with her beliefs.
I actually think this is a good episode because it focused on two plot lines pretty good.
Yeah, balance them well, and they're not really plot lines that could hold a whole episode by themselves.
Yeah.
I'm torn, because, like, the whole thing about Rachel, like, that's okay, like, it's not my favorite, but it could be worse. The thing with Connie's Bible study, I do appreciate that, like, okay, you have to be careful of other, because sometimes people try to twist Christianity ever so slightly, and I think that's a good idea to tell kids. They could have maybe elaborated it a bit more, so kids, like, can maybe catch it more.
Yeah.
Right, I agree with that.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a good episode, but there's just a few things where I'm like, it's okay, not.
Although I've always kind of had a headcanon end to this episode because Whit offers to teach the Bible study, where they come into a Bible study and the other guy's tied up in a chair, and Whit just starts evangelizing.
Okay, well, that's in your head. We don't have to. That's your own weirdness. We don't have to focus on that.
Feel free to write your own fan fiction.
Yes, we will read any fan fiction you send to us.
No, we won't. No, we won't.
I meant for Will to feel free to write your own.
As long as it's G-rated.
That doesn't mean I'm gonna read it.
Well, maybe I'll read it. Who knows? Where was I going with that? But, I mean, Wait used to be a secret agent, so that won't be completely out of the question. No, wait. He hits him over the head with a dictionary. That makes more sense.
Oh my gosh.
Wait, it's encyclopedias, isn't it? Okay, I'm starting to lose you two, because I'm going off on a tangent here. So, good episode.
Bring it back, Will.
Yeah, okay. We get it. Okay. So, good episode. Maybe they could have elaborated more on how bad the Bible study was. But, moving on to Choices, episode 69, written by Phil Lawler and aired April 1st, 1989. Lucy Cunningham Schultz is assigned to write a school report on evolution. The hot button issue of the day.
Okay, well, here's the thing. I feel like this episode's really flawed because even at Christian schools they have to teach evolution. So the fact that she's so stressed out about having to write a paper about evolution seems really stupid. And I get, like, oh, she's probably only in junior high, but there is the point where, yeah, in school you have to write stuff on what you don't believe.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, I think in every school, like, one, you have to write stuff that's, like, other people's opinions, like, okay, there's this and this and this, stating that, oh, yeah, it's just, there's a few problems with it.
I agree that, maybe they're focusing too much on Lucy having to write the paper. I mean, I get it's supposed to be stand up for your beliefs, but wouldn't it have been better to stand up for your beliefs in a different way? I mean, there are ways they could have done that.
Yeah, and I feel the problem is, like, I feel like it was probably, I think it was on the theory of evolution, but you could just focus on evolution, which is different than the theory of evolution.
Right, and I know Christian schools have to teach it. They teach the facts that exist, not they don't teach it as fact.
Well, no, we went to a Christian school, they teach what the theory of evolution is. Well, like, they say, okay, this is what it is. They say, I don't agree with it, but this is what it states.
Well, right.
So,
Some high schools teach it as a fact, though. That's what I'm saying.
Well, I know that. And, like, they shouldn't, because that's why it's called a theory, because there's still holes missing. But, I mean, you can still even write a paper about the theory of evolution, just stating, although it's not totally proven, and explain why it's not totally proven.
You can just preface it by saying, this is not what I believe in. And
well,
just
no,
say,
I wouldn't even say you have to preface it with, this is not what I believe in, but you can say, like, the holes in the theory of evolution and say why some people don't believe in it.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot that she could have done that I feel like most teachers would be fine with.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's really a wrong answer.
Right, and in a later episode, they talk about standing up for what you believe in, and they used this episode as an example during, like, the little post scene with Chris. So I think they see this episode as one of their crowning achievements.
Well, that's why we're here.
Exactly. Debunking Odyssey. One bad episode at a time.
Okay.
Ba-ba-ba-bum.
Okay, please shut up.
Part of this.
Keep going.
Sorry, it's a little late. I'm getting loopy. All right, Go Ye Therefore, episode 69, written by Paul McCusker and aired April 8th, 1989. Connie learns about evangelizing.
Okay, well, I feel like this episode has some flaws. I think it is very funny as an episode, but the moral at the end brings it around. Like, I feel like trying to evangelize out, I get flyers and stuff, but, like, doing that sometimes isn't the worst thing you can do, but I do like the message that probably the best way is just doing it one-on-one.
Right, I'm not saying no one's ever been converted by a pamphlet, but when's the last time you've heard about someone being converted by a pamphlet?
Well, I feel like they don't say, oh yeah, I was converted by a pamphlet. They would probably say, oh, an evangelist or someone on the street, like, pointed me to church. I feel like they're not going to be like, Oh, yeah, I read a pamphlet.
Well, you know.
I
Oh, go ahead.
I think they really should have, if they wanted this to actually be an effective episode where people learn about evangelism, they should have just had them go out one-on-one with people instead of just handing them the pamphlet and then they get mad and throw it away.
Right. Well, the point.
Like, sure, that happens, but if you actually want to be effective, then help yourself out.
Well, the point of the episode was Connie was supposed to learn that.
Right. Which I feel like they should have actually showed what it actually looks like.
Right. They kind of show them go off to start talking, but right, they could have. They didn't have to show the whole thing. They could have at least like shown how the conversation starts.
Yeah.
And then we've got the bumper sticker scene, which is very amusing just because of how Mrs. Kendall says it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, we all know that one guy who has too many church bumper stickers on his car. All right. That concludes this album. So, overall review, overall score?
I'm sorry about that. I give it an 8. A very good album, actually. Not actually, maybe more like 8.5. It's a very good album with, I think, very few weak episodes, and I feel even most of the weaker episodes are still watchable, listenable. I don't know.
All right.
Yeah, I would give it a 7.5 just because I think they missed the mark on a few too many of them for me to give it an 8.
Yeah, I'm giving it a 7 because they do definitely miss the mark, and because we're starting to move out of the earlier days and into kind of a more, like, we're in the second year at this point, you'd think they'd start being able to iron some of this out, but there's still a lot of good episodes in there.
Yeah.
All right, it's time for the trivia question. What is the first Imagination Station adventure?
Oh, it's the crucifixion with Digger Digwellow.
Yes, I would have also accepted the Easter story, but okay. All right, so
You're impressed
Maybe
I
that's
got
why
the
that kid
name.
got so messed up.
what?
Maybe that's why he was so messed up.
That could be.
I want to know why Whit gave him a book about imagination.
Well, we'll cover that soon. Now, all right, so join us next week when we'll be talking about Album 8, Beyond Expectations. And you can follow us on Instagram at An Adventure Through Odyssey, Tumblr at An Adventure Through Odyssey, and email us at anadventurethroughodyssey@gmail.com.
Well, you have a Tumblr?
Yes. I don't... What?
Nothing.
I don't use it. I just post Odyssey stuff for anyone who's following it. Okay, I'm Will.
I'm John.
And I'm Gabe.
We'll see you next week, and make sure to check out our mini episode if you haven't heard it already.